Hey everybody, I'm Scott Wikle. You're listening to My Kind of Country right here on mkocradio.com. We're going to take a little trip down to Tennessee right now for a visit to Whisperville and talk to the mayor himself. He's a 55-year member of the Grand Ole Opry with a hit song in the last 7 consecutive decades. And I am speaking, of course, of the Country Music Hall of Fame and Songwriters Hall of Fame member, Whisperin' Bill Anderson. Bill, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Scott. Good to talk to you, but you're a year short. I just celebrated my 56th anniversary at the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, my goodness. I'm behind. You're going so fast, I can't keep up with you.
I can't keep up with them either, trust me.
Man, that's amazing. How is it? How has the Opry changed for you personally over the years, watching all the different acts come through and everything?
Well, it's changed, and yet it hasn't changed. You know, the spirit of the Opry, I think, is a big part of what the Opry is, and I think that spirit, even though the Opry has grown and changed and moved from the Ryman Auditorium to the Grand Ole Opry House, I think that Opry spirit, the family atmosphere and everything is the same as it was when I joined the cast in 1961. And yet, on the other hand, it's changed a lot. The Opry has opened itself up in recent years to more of the new artists, the young artists. It used to be that the Opry was something you got to perform on after you had had a certain amount of success, and now I think the Opry is using itself and being used as a stepping stone to get to that success, and I think that's an interesting twist, and it seems to be working.
Well, absolutely. And we try to do that on our show, too. You know, we try to showcase a lot of the new artists that are doing traditional country right along with the legends like yourself. And like you said, it's there's some great music out there being kept in the tradition, and we're happy to get it on the air.
Well, I'm sure glad that you are, because I get letters all the time from people saying, where can I hear traditional country music? I can't hear it on my local radio stations anymore, so it's great that the internet is out there and guys like you are doing what you're doing.
Well, I'm glad to be doing it. And it was sure a pleasure to be able to meet you last month with Freddie Hart. What a great time that was.
Well, I love Freddie Hart, known him for years and years, and when I saw him walk in the door at the recording studio, I'm saying, my goodness, he hasn't changed. He doesn't look a day older than he did when I met him back in the 60s, and yet he's 90 years old. I hope if I make it to 90 that I look as good as he does.
Well, I think you look pretty great, too, and I was amazed how tall you are. Now, Freddie had his boots on, and you had your tennis shoes on, and you guys were standing eyeball to eyeball. I didn't know you were that tall.
I think people get the idea, maybe because I have kind of a soft voice and stuff, people get the idea that maybe I'm a little bitty guy, but I've been over 6 feet tall since I was about 14 or 15 years old. So it surprises people. I get people all the time that come up to me and say, I didn't realize you were as tall as you are.
Man, I tell you, when I stood next to you guys, I can't say I felt like little Jimmy Dickens because I'm not that skinny, but I guess I felt like Johnny Russell or something.
Well, I tell you what, Freddie Hart, of course, he's got that black belt in karate. You sure don't want to rub him the wrong way. He could take you out in a minute if he wanted to.
I believe he still could. I'll tell you, he is rock solid. He's in great shape, and he's a dear friend, and it was a treasure to spend time with him and listen to him record, and you as well, in Saginaw, Michigan. And I didn't know till the last time that we talked that you were a co-writer on that song.
Don Wayne, great writer here in Nashville for many years, started this song, and he got kind of hung up and didn't know how to finish it, and asked me if I could finish it, and I was able to put the little ending on it, and he gave me part of the song, and for that to have been the last #1 record of Lefty Frizzell's great career was quite an honor for me. I've been awfully proud of that ever since it happened.
Well, absolutely. Now, had you ever recorded that song before you're doing this new recording?
Yes, I recorded it in an album called From This Pen that I did quite a few years ago when I was first getting into the business big time as a songwriter. I did a collection of some of the songs that I wrote for other people, like Once a Day and City Lights, and Saginaw, Michigan was on that record. But other than that, I don't think I've ever recorded it.
Wow, that's a great song, absolutely timeless, and we certainly look forward to hearing the new version of it for sure. You were, of course, on Decca Records for many years, and you had some fantastic label mates, including Ernest Tubb and Patsy Cline. Do you have any memories that stand out in your mind from back in those days with those folks?
Oh, Oh, golly, yes, of course. Patsy and I were booked by the same booking agency, and we worked a lot of concert dates together. I didn't work on the road many times with Ernest Tubb, but I worked with him a lot at the Grand Ole Opry, and always enjoyed the times that I did get to work with him on the road. They were both very special people, as were, Loretta Lynn, Conway Twitty, so many of the others that were on the label at the time that I was there.
That was a fantastic record label.
Right.
I was reading in your book, An Unprecedented Life in Country Music, which is available at BillAnderson.com. It's your second book that you've written. And I love the story that you talked about with Porter Wagoner and the cold, hard facts of life.
Well, I don't remember what story I told in there. I could have told several.
Well, you tell me one that comes to your mind. How's that?
Well, I don't know if you're talking about when I wrote the song, or the fact that I painted myself into a corner and I wasn't sure how I was going to end the song, and I was very blessed. I think the good Lord just looked down and gave me that line, "Who taught who the cold hard facts of life," which was the only way I think that song could have ended.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I like about that song and so many great songs is you can close your eyes and visualize the story, and I have kind of a picture in my mind of how the whole story goes as the song goes along. And to me, that's what country music's about. It really gives you a vivid picture of a story in 2.5 minutes.
Well, that's a compliment. I appreciate that. We try awfully hard. One of the first people that I ever met in Nashville was a man named Murray Nash, who ran the Acuff Rose publishing company here. When I was about 15 years old, I was lucky enough to get in to see Mr. Nash, and he told me, he said, "Son, when you're writing a song, make it like you're telling a story." He said, "If something doesn't add to the story, then take it out and go back, and don't just put something in there just because it rhymes or it fits. You got to add to that story." And the story songs in country music were what attracted me to country music in the first place. So I love to write the story songs, and for you to say that is a great compliment, and I appreciate it.
Well, there's so many of them, and of course, you continue to write hit songs. You've done a lot of work with Brad Paisley, and of course, Give It Away, George Strait, and a gentleman that I really like, and I've had him on my show a couple times. He's a relative newcomer to country music, Mo Pitney. You had written a song called Country.
Yeah, I've written several songs with Mo. That's the only one that he has recorded. A couple of other artists have recorded some of the songs. He's a great young talent, and he understands what our music and our business is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have a lot of tour dates coming up. Of course, you've got a lot of Grand Ole Opry dates, and on the 18th, you're going to be at the Ross Country Jamboree there in Scottsburg, Indiana. That's a fabulous venue. I've been there myself. And on the 19th, you're going to be in Windsor, Illinois, and the 26th in Sisseton, South Dakota. And on the 27th, you're going to be at Midwest Country, and I assume that's being recorded for the RFD television show.
Well, I don't think so, because I work at on RFD with the Country's Family Reunion, and I think there's some kind of a contractual thing there where they don't allow them to televise my shows at the Midwest Country. But it's always fun to go up there, Sandstone, Minnesota. A lot of fans, a lot of friends up there, whether it's on television or not.
Well, we have a lot of great listeners from that area, and I know they're all looking forward to having you come up in that area again. And again, you can go to BillAnderson.com and check out all those tour dates and everything. Bill, I really enjoy the posts that you put on, kind of like a blog every month on your website, and you give a little update of what's going on in your life and everything. And I think your fans really enjoy that, because I like the questions that they ask you too.
Thank you. Well, I have a column there called Ask Bill, where the people can write to me. Just ask Bill at BillAnderson.com, and I answer as many of the questions as I can every month and try to write a little update. That's one of the things that the Internet brings to us that we didn't have before. I've had a fan club for years and years, and we used to put out, quarterly journals and things like that, but you can communicate with people so much more in the now today than you could back in those days, and I get a lot of compliments from the fans, and a lot of people thank me. It's not always easy to sit down and think of something to write, but I try, and I'm glad to know you check it out, and I invite the the folks who are listening to check it out anytime they can.
Well, you bet. And I also read that you recently received 5 million Air Award certificates from BMI. That is outstanding.
Well, I guess when you've been around as long as I have, I guess things just kind of pile up after a while, and it's nice to be recognized. I never got into this business to win awards or anything like that. I got into it because I love the music, and if I could afford to do it for free, I would. I've just been very blessed to be able to make a living at it.
Well, I think that's why you got the awards, is because of your love of the music. I think it works both ways there, you know.
Thank you.
And you re-signed with Sony ATV Music Publishing recently. You've been with them for a long time.
I've been with them forever. I think I came with the building. I'm not sure. But, they've done a wonderful job with my songs. I know the fans don't care who publishes the songs and all, but for the writers, it's important to work with people that you know and you like and you trust. And I've had that kind of relationship at Sony for a long time.
Well, that's wonderful. In your history of writing songs and having other people record your music, are there any songs that kind of stand out in your mind that when they were recorded by the other artists, they were a very different take on what you originally had in mind when you wrote the song, either good or bad?
Well, I've had some things happen after maybe a song has been out. For example, I recorded the song Still back in 1963, and it was one of the big records, signature songs of my career. And then about 15 or 20 years later, the great rhythm and blues singer James Brown came along and recorded it. And, of course, James Brown's version's not going to sound anything like Bill Anderson's version, but he put his own stamp on it. And I appreciate that. I mean, I had people like Aretha Franklin and Elvis Costello and Lawrence Welk and Dean Martin and Debbie Reynolds and all kinds of people record songs of mine. And I'm always honored, number one, when they do. And then number two, I'm always interested the first time I put it on the record player. And, oh my goodness, what was their interpretation of this song? I've never been disappointed. I've been surprised a few times.
Well, that's a good answer. I like that. Are there some? I guess how do you, when you write a song, do you have an artist in mind, or do you say this is a song I want to record myself, or do you always think, okay, this is somebody else is going to record this? Or?
No, I just let it fall where it may. I figure that if it's a good song, it'll find a home somewhere sometime. I think I can write better if I don't sit down and just try to tailor something right to somebody. I can't say I've never done that, because I have, but most of the time when I sit down to write, I'm just sitting down to write whatever I think or whatever I feel, and wherever it lands, that's just up to the fates, I guess.
Do you prefer writing by yourself, or do you like to write with others?
Well, I wrote by myself pretty much exclusively for the first 25 or 30 years, and then I got into this thing called CoWriting, and I really enjoy both of them. A little bit lately, I've been doing some co-writing and going back and writing some songs by myself again, which I haven't done for a while. So it's a little bit of a different process. I enjoy the co-writing process when I'm in the room with somebody that is kind of thinking in the same way that I'm thinking, and I enjoy just being by myself and seeing what I can create as well. So it's two different things, and I enjoy both, and I feel very privileged to be able to do both.
Now, when you sit down and write a song, does an inspiration come to you, or do you sit down and say, "Hey, I'm going to write a song"? And do you also have a tune in your head as you write your lyrics?
Well, I think the lyrics suggest the melody. If you're writing a happy, up-tempo kind of feeling song, it'll kind of suggest a melody, like the song Wild Weekend or something. You don't write a sad melody to a song like I'm going to have a wild weekend. And you don't write a happy melody, something like the cold, hard facts of life. So they just kind of suggest and feed off of one another. I sit down to write sometimes and don't have any idea what I'm going to write. Most of the time I'll get a little idea, maybe a little hook, and that'll cause me to go sit down and try to write. I write that way more than any other way.
Well, that might be a song within itself right there. You can't write a happy melody for a sad song. Scott, I hate to cut this short, but I've got an appointment at the recording studio in about
about 20 minutes, and I'm about 30 minutes away from the studio, so I'm going to have to fly, but it's sure good talking to you.
Well, it was great talking to you too, Bill, and I really appreciate you coming on the show. And again, it was nice meeting you there, and be sure to tell David hello for me, and best of luck to you, and keep us posted anytime you have new stuff coming out. We're here to promote it for you.
I sure will, man. That's wonderful, and it's great to know, and I'll pass your name and address along to the people that want to know where they can listen to traditional country music, because I hear from so many that say they can't find it on their local stations anymore, and nice to know that you guys are playing it and keeping it alive, and we thank you very much.
Well, I thank you, and I thank our listeners too. Bill Anderson, we're going to play some great music from you and some other great songs you've written as we continue with the show. Thank you so much for being on My Kind of Country, Bill.
Thank you, Scott.